Welcome to the Andy Shaver Podcast, a bold voice for faith, family, and freedom. Hello, everybody. Welcome. This morning I had a chance to talk with State Representative Rachelle Smit of the 43rd District and Kathrine Bussard, Executive Director and COO of Salt and Light Global, about the national popular vote legislation that is presently moving through the House. House Bills 4156 and 4440 that are likely to be voted on in the next few days. We discussed the nature of these bills and the threat that they pose to the voice of Michiganders in presidential elections going forward should they pass. I encourage you to join in, educate yourself, and then call your representative and let them hear your opinion as well. Well, let's not waste any time and let's just jump right into today's podcast on the national popular vote. Okay. Well, welcome and thank you both for being here. Kathrine Bussard is the Executive Director and Chief Operation Officer for Salt and Light Global and a voice for, among other things, good governance and government accountability. Welcome. And Rachelle Smit is State Representative Rachelle Smit. Thank you for being here. She's the representative of the 43rd District and was recently elected Speaker Pro Tem. Congratulations on that, Rachelle. Thank you for joining me this morning. You previously served as the Martin Township Clerk for 7 years, and I know you're personally passionate about the election process and election integrity. So I just welcome to the Andy Shaver podcast to both of you. And Katie, I guess I wanted to ask you first, why should people be concerned about the national popular vote that's being proposed in the House this week?
One of the things that is probably most important for Michiganders to understand is that this really would diminish our voice at the national level. If this were to pass, the populations of as few as 4 cities, Miami, New York City, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, could actually determine who elects the president. So a candidate running for president would have no reason to even come to Michigan, not even to Detroit necessarily. It would force really the center of the country to just kind of become flyover land that's irrelevant to Washington, D.C. And that has consequences far beyond just elections. Even when we think about, funding and projects and priority for services for people in Michigan, if we aren't a priority for the presidential vote, we may not be a priority for some of those things, and especially money to flow into the state. And so there's a lot of subsidiary consequences that we want to think very carefully about. It really does give away the vote of Michigan to the other people of 49 states, wherever that majority lives.
Wow. Wow. So what you're saying is this really diminishes the voice of every Michigander. It really doesn't matter their political persuasion, what
Exactly.
the basis of their belief system, ideals, ideologies. This pretty much throws a wet blanket on the voice of Michigan and pushes Michigan off to the side where we're really not heard when it comes to the presidential election and what happens in Washington, D.C. Representative Smit, it's my understanding that national popular vote forces Michigan in some ways to blindly accept laws and rules from other states in where their election process might be a little bit more relaxed or different than ours. What does that look like from your perspective if this were to become law?
Sure. So just to explain a little bit of background, all states operate their elections slightly differently. There's ranked choice voting, and that's a whole nother thing that we could get into. But of the states that enter into this, what this would be is an interstate national vote, popular vote compact. Right now, there are 17 states that have already joined this compact, as well as DC. So they have made up 209 of the electoral votes with those 17 states plus DC. Now, how this works is that once it gets to enough states that join this compact to reach 270 electoral votes, that would take into effect of the voting system across the nation, that it would be done under the national popular vote. So it's trending there. It's getting there. They're all blue states, as you can imagine.
Sure.
And I wouldn't consider Michigan a blue state. I mean,
No.
look what just happened this past election that we've experienced. So this is something worth preserving and fighting for. And our forefathers were very wise in coming up with this system, and it's been under operation for 237 years. So why do we want to, in a very creative way, circumvent the Constitution? And that's ultimately what this does.
So from your perspective, I know I'm not a constitutional legal expert, but from your perspective, Representative Smit, this is probably not constitutional. This would be something that would violate the oath of any state representative that should vote for it.
I would argue that it does.
Oh,
Could I provide a reference for that real quick?
yeah.
And hopefully the representative is able to rejoin us. I'm, again, also not a constitutional attorney, but if we just read the words of the Constitution at face value, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution states, quote, "No state shall, without the consent of Congress, enter into any agreement or compact with another state." This very document is an agreement, a compact between states. And so it seems to violate that. The other thing that's important to note is that in Article 5 of the Constitution, it lays out two very specific ways to amend the US Constitution. And this compact does not follow either of those paths, which is very concerning.
Wow. Wow. Representative Smit, I'm glad you're back. Sorry about
Yeah, sorry, I
whatever
lost connection there.
No, that's
Yes,
okay.
I would absolutely argue that it does violate the Constitution, the federal Constitution, in regards to this. However, the federal Constitution says the states determine the time, place, and manner of elections. And so this is how, the opposing people are saying, well, we're giving this power over to anybody who wants to enter into this. And that's their way of circumventing it. But
Sure.
it would be challenged. And I think that hopefully we would win on this, because I believe it is a violation of our Constitution.
Sure, but in the end, what I'm hearing is whether it would be found constitutionally correct or not. Which I will tell you, I come from the same thought process that both of you do. This does not seem best for the citizens of Michigan. And it seems like if the state legislature was going to take this up, and it were to be something that would be done because it would be done best for Michiganders, it would have been something that would have been done before the election that we just had. And this really smells of an agenda, probably from the governor's desk, to really circumvent the voice of the people in Michigan. And so that's why I wanted to bring you on here today. One more question. How would the national popular vote change Michigan if this were to become law, Representative Smit? How would this change Michigan? How would this change how our voice would be heard, and really how we might be involved in elections from this point forward?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it would drastically change. As you pointed out, we would be a flyover state. They would not be coming to Michigan. They don't need our voice and our vote here. Even the city of Detroit, which is the largest population in the state, which was, upwards of 1.2 million people, is down to 600,000. That's just not enough. We'll be lost to Texas, California, New York, Chicago. And talk about disenfranchising voters. That's exactly what would be happening here to the people of Michigan.
Wow. Kathrine, talk to me for just a moment about how this affects our republic. And I know this is a little bit of a deep dive for some of the people that are watching, some of the people that are listening. But there's a significant difference between a republic and a democracy. And the Electoral College is something that is unique to a republic. What is this? What does this do as far as in terms of eroding the republic that's 248 some odd years old?
So, in short, democracy in its purest form is also often referred to as tyranny of the majority. It's where, exactly the majority, 50% plus one, makes the determination for everyone else. And our founders did something really unique. They set up a constitutional republic with democratic elements. We do have elections where every citizen has a vote, but
Sure.
those votes delegate to representatives that make sure that even places that might not have as large of a population, the little states like Rhode Island or states like Alaska that might not have much of a population, they still have a voice in our process. And the Electoral College works in a very similar way to protect the voice and make sure that every single state still plays a part in how the president is elected, because that president, after all, has to represent the people of all 50 states, not just the population centers. And to lose that would really be to lose that representative function that is so unique in our Constitution.
Yeah. Wow. So this is very important. Representative Smit, two things. Let us know what citizens can do, and then I want to give you the last word. And I appreciate both of you ladies being on.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, Andy. I do appreciate it. And it is important to get this word out. This is the second or third time that this has been on the floor agenda. It was discharged out of committee well over a year ago. And I don't want to be surprised if we do not see this, and we should be prepared to see this in lame duck. So it is important that we don't let our feet off of the gas with this one, that we reach out to particularly the Democrat representatives and senators that would be in support of this. I do know my caucus, all 54 of us Republicans are not for this. We would be in opposition to it as a party line. And last I heard, there was about half a dozen or so Democrats that weren't really on board with this either. So, but that doesn't mean that this wouldn't just be pushed right on through and lame duck, for
Sure.
either whatever negotiations or whatnot. So just keep on applying the pressure to the representatives on it, particularly the Elections Commission. If you have a Democrat state rep or senator in your area, reach out to them directly, tell them to oppose this. That's what the best thing we can do.
Sure. Great. Well, we will include, for those of you that are watching and listening, we will include a list of those representatives that you can contact, and just implore you to reach out via email or phone call and let their office know how you feel about this. Again, Benjamin Franklin famously said, "This is our republic if we could keep it." And this is a part of that keeping work. And so it takes every citizen's engagement. Ladies, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I know you guys are busy, so I will let you go, but God bless you and keep doing the great work that both of you are doing for our state and our nation. Have a great day.
Thank you, Andy.
Hey guys, this is Andy. Thanks for tuning in to today's podcast. Do me a favor and help spread the word. Hit share, like, leave a comment, and find this podcast coming soon on every platform where podcasts are shared. God bless you. Have a great day.